So hi everyone, welcome to this segment of Event TV. My name is Michelle Planche, and today we're down at Rodney's Oyster House. We are going to learn how to shuck an oyster properly. We're going to learn about the different types of oysters, the different characteristics, and what to think about when you're incorporating oysters at your event. So stay tuned. Hi everyone, I'm here with Julius and we're down at Rodney's Oyster House. And oysters are really gaining in terms of popularity at events. I feel like more and more we're able to incorporate them into large groups.
Everybody has an oyster on their menu now. Certainly our feeling is that no event is complete without an oyster bar. Everybody loves them. It brings people together. You're eating with your hands. It sort of just mellows everything out a little bit when you're eating raw oysters. It's just some finger food, you know. It's a bit primal and it's a nice kickstart to anything that you're doing.
Tell me a little bit about oysters in general.
So we eat 5 different kinds of oysters in North America. An indigenous Atlantic Ocean, an indigenous Pacific Ocean. There's a couple of other oysters that come from the other side of the Pacific that we grow over here. And then there's a European oyster that is indigenous to the coast of Europe. We also see that over here. So only 5 species. Think more about geography than about name brand, right? Because that's all packaging, that's all branding. So where is the oyster from? Because that's what's going to really influence its flavor more than anything else. 2 main varieties would be, and we'll do a little Latin here, Michelle, if that's okay. Crassistria virginica. This is your East Coast, your Eastern Seaboard, Atlantic Ocean oyster. And then Crassistria gigas, which is your Pacific oyster. And you see that coming off the west coast of North America. The gigas is like the go-to oyster for oyster growers all over the world because it's the fastest growing. Has a slightly stronger taste. You get a little bit more chalk, a little bit more minerality, slightly deeper cups, so a little more texture, a little more, feeling in the mouth.
So are there anything in particular that you feel like oysters should be paired with? Like, if you can think about like either menus or wines, like are there any like amazing pairings with oysters? I'm sure there's lots.
The commonality is acidity, right? Oysters are salty. They're full of salt water, and when you eat them, you put something acidic with that salt, and it'll sort of dial the salt down a little bit. There's a reason that lemon is always served with oysters, and lemon is acid. So that'll settle the salt down a little bit, let the other flavors in the oyster come out so that you can enjoy them.
So when you're setting up an oyster station, do you have like kind of a rule of thumb in terms of the number of oysters per person that you generally serve?
We'll generally say 3 to 4 a person, but if you know your crowd, you can estimate up or down depending on what you think the demand is going to be. If you're starting at home, don't try to be a hero and overpower the oyster. Make sure you're letting the knife do the work. So you're putting it into the hinge there. And instead of trying to, I'm gonna keyman this oyster open, you're just turning the blade, right? You're letting the blade do the work and just popping the hinge open. The hardest part of shucking is getting the muscle there because you can't see and the oyster is trying to stay shut, right? So you're just sort of scraping. You sort of scrape across the top.
Okay.
If you happen to chop up the top of the oyster a little bit, one trick is that you can flip it over. Most of the time, the bottom part of the oyster is going to look a little bit better than the top because you're just doing that kind of cutaway.
Yep.
So you can flip the oyster over. That's a trick. Would you like to eat it, Michelle?
I do want to eat it.
That's for you, if you'd like.
Okay. That was really yummy.
Pretty good, yeah.
There's different theories. Are you supposed to chew the oyster?
Oh, yeah.
Or no, you are supposed to chew it.
Your mother told you to chew your food. I mean, she would be heartbroken to learn that you were not. When you chew it, you open up the flavor of the oyster. You get the actual taste of the oyster. Otherwise, you may as well just be doing shots of the sea, right?
Mm-hmm. So how do you actually know if an oyster is off?
A really bad oyster is really, really smelly. And a slightly bad oyster is slightly smelly. An oyster should smell of the sea. It should smell fresh. It shouldn't smell decaying. The best rule is if you have any doubts at all about the way an oyster smells, throw it away. Don't try to maximize value on eating it because, they can make you really sick. They can really wreck your weekend. Okay, so keep the knife angled down a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. Angle the knife so if it slips, it goes into the bar, not into your hand. So that's good. You need to just put more pressure right across and angle the knife down a little more, down and in. Whoa, oh.
Don't do that.
I'm getting scared here. Yeah, good, there you go.
Okay. Good, awesome. Well, so if people are interested in booking Rodney's and having them come out to events, tell us, how can we find you?
If you go to rodneysoysterhouse.com or you Google Rodney's, an oyster, we should pop up. We have a full catering department, so we'll bring not just oysters, but really anything from the sea, crabs, lobsters, fish, scallops, shrimp, etc., mussels. The backbone of what we do is going to be oyster bars. So we bring everything in, we take everything out, so you don't have bags of oyster shells or anything to deal with. Obviously, if you're in an event space or a hotel and there's facilities there, we'll use it. If we're going to your backyard, no, we'll come in with everything and we'll leave with everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Michelle,
It's been a
very nice to
pleasure.
talk to you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Take care.
Cheers. Thank you.